speak to you for a few minutes on the thought of how not to get shook up when your world shakes down. Not how to get shook up, how not to get shook up when your world shakes down. There's 3 words in Psalms 46 that begin with the letter R. Be easy for you to remember. And I hope and pray it'll be a blessing to you. I know God is able. If you're in a, and I, as I read this morning, all over again, and I began to look at the words that was on this monitor. The words, waters came up, the sea came up, the word hands came up in one of the songs. And I thought, Lord, I believe you're trying to tell me that I'm on target this morning for what you want me to say. I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to read the entire psalm. It's just 11 verses. I want you to see the word refuge. I want you to see the word river. And I want you to see the word relax or rest. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. Selah. There is a river. The streams whereof shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her, and that right early. Your Bible might say, I like it better. And God shall help her just at the break of dawn. The heathens raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Selah. Come, behold the works of the Lord, what desolation he hath made in the earth. He maketh wars to cease under the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow and cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariots in the fire. Be still, and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Selah. And everybody shout amen. Amen. Oh, my. Here is these 3 words I want to use. I'll probably change the word river to resource. But God is God, and he is the one that is holding everything in its place. Amen. I think about this psalm. God can protect me, and he can protect you because he is God. I thought about when I was the overseer of Florida going over to the coast to watch a shuttle take off. And as it took off, the announcer was telling all about the rocket and the shuttle. He said now it's 2 minutes into the atmosphere. It's already going 15,000 miles an hour. And it said, now it's been in the air for 5 or 6 minutes, 7 minutes, and now it's traveling at a speed of such and such miles an hour. And on it went. And I got to thinking, they're talking about how powerful the shuttle is, but I serve a God that made where they're trying to get to. And not long ago, I was studying, I love these rockets. And I found there was one that left for Jupiter 6 months. It took it 6 months to get there. They spent $63 billion to know if they could get to Jupiter and to find out how Jupiter got there. And I got to thinking about that. I'm thinking if they would just give me the $63 million, I could give everybody here $1 million apiece, and we could all go to Cracker Barrel for lunch. I'll take care of that because God made it all. And the God that I serve, the God you serve, is our refuge. That's the first word I want you to see. He is our refuge. I don't ask, do you have the kind of faith that can protect you in the times of storms? When you read this, the water's roaring, the mountain is shaking, all this is going on in the midst of that. Do you have the kind of faith that can protect you in the time of a storm? Now you see, faith honors God, and God honors faith. And faith is so good that we need to realize, too, that while we need faith, we must understand that while we have faith, it's easy sometimes for you and me or preachers to exhort faith than it is to take our own medicine of faith. But if we can just get that faith embedded in us. And so sometimes we go through a storm when we have a divorce in our family, or we have a bank account reverse, or some kind of problem like that, and one of our family members gets ill, and perhaps maybe pass away, and we need to know how to handle it in times like that. So where do you go in a time of a storm? And what do you do when these things come? It says God. And this word God is not the word Jehovah. It's an older word than that. It's the word El, E-L. And if you want to trace it back, you can go all the way back to the Garden of Eden when Adam and Eve were there and looked up into the heavens and they said El, which means a God of a mighty rock tower. Oh, he is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in time of trouble. Well, you know, if God, look at the Atlantic and Pacific salmon. I was reading in Field and Stream magazine not long ago about how these salmon are hatched out in a river. And when they're hatched out in the river, they grow to about as big as your finger. They continue to grow, and as they grow, they head downstream. As they head downstream, and this is kind of interesting to me that scientists don't understand how this happens, but they said somehow between this stream and the salt water that they're headed to, they don't know how they do it, but they realize through their studies that whoever made this fish made him to sprout some kind of lung and gills that could take into their bodies salt water and live on the bottom of the ocean bed for 5 years. After 5 years, God flips a switch on that salmon. He heads along of the ocean bed until he comes to the very river he came out of 5 years later. That's another thing scientists said. They said, we don't know how they know which river to go back up into. But this artist said they go right back up that same river, and that silver, shining something, comes to a waterfall and jumps 6 feet in the air on his way back home. I said that to say, if God will take care of a fish, let's take that up to a higher, holier, heavenly level. How much more will God take care of you and me? Oh, give the Lord a hand clap. Praise Him. And then I read about the bumblebee hummingbird. Boy, that is interesting. The bumblebee hummingbird starts off in Nova Scotia, Canada, migrates to the Panama Canal, makes a U-turn, goes all the way back to Nova Scotia, Canada. Now, on the way down, he spends the night at the Holiday Inn Express. Goes over to Cracker Barrel and gets him Uncle Herschel's special box. You'd think I like Cracker Barrel, wouldn't you? When they walk out the front of Cracker Barrel, they put this on my master's card. They call it my master. Ladies and gentlemen, if God will take time to care for the birds of the air, how much more will he take care of you and me? Oh, I love it. Don't you love him this morning? He takes care of his own. And so he said he's a very present help in times of trouble. These words in the Hebrew language are beautiful. And it means here that God will allow you to find him when you need to find him. Isn't that interesting thing? Sometimes in the language of the Old Testament, we don't see all the Hebrew that's involved in there. But this verse is trying to say that God is trying to let you know that he's a very present help in times of trouble. That God allows you to find him when you're looking for him. I don't know if you were country folks like I was, but I grew up in a time when we had to make up our own games. We didn't have any. I grew up at a time when for Christmas I got an orange and an apple and some English walnuts, maybe one or two, but nothing else. And every time I start to tell my granddaughters this when we hand out the presents, they say, "Oh, Papa, we've heard that a lot of times." I just want to let them know that they are better off than they've ever been. And but with my two girls, I would play hide and go seek with them, and now I play with the grandbabies the same way. But they don't know how to play it real good. And I would look for them, and they'd jump out and say, "Here I am, Papa, I'm right here." That's not the way you play the game, but that's how God says he works with you. He said, "I'm the kind of God that will allow you to find me when you need me." Oh, man, I tell you, everybody said, "He's my refuge." That's the first R you want to see there. He is your refuge. The second thing is, God is your resource. Now he says, there is a river. Now what does a river do? Well, first of all, they're quiet. But then a flowing river will bring resources up and down the river. And that's the word I want you to see, is the resource. God is our resource. He is a very present help in time of trouble. He allows them to be found. And then he says, therefore, and when there's a therefore in the Bible, stop to see what it's there for. Therefore, we will not fear. God said, look, whenever you've got me as your refuge, you don't have to be afraid. You know, there are all kinds of people that have got all kinds of phobias in the world. And one day I was flying up to Canada to preach at a camp meeting, and in the front of the person's seat, the person in front of me, I reached in, there was a magazine in there, a Time magazine. And I'll be able to read about all these different kind of phobias that's in the world. There are people that are afraid of being in high places. You know, they can't stand on a tall building and look out, their knees get to shaking, and you know, they kind of feel kind of nervous about it. There are people that are afraid of even being out in a mall somewhere. You know, my wife doesn't have that one, I tell you that. She's not afraid to go to the mall. And then there are people that are afraid of snakes. Now, my wife got that one. She is afraid of snakes. There's all kinds of fears in the world. But here, he said, whenever you have me as your resource, when you have me as your refuge, you don't have to be afraid. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we serve that kind of God. Amen. That is able to keep us from all of our fears. And you know what we need to understand here is man's power is noisy, but God's power is quiet. You ever notice that? Like the sun. When you go down there, when I was overseas in Florida, I'd go over there and watch them take off. And it was just amazing to me. It would shake the whole east coast of Florida when it would push off of that ground. It would just woo up in there. And it was just amazing to me. It was noisy. God's power is quiet. You ever notice that? The flowing of a gentle river, it's just quiet. You know, with all the power that God has, and that's good, but sometimes God does something in a quiet way. And I noticed in one place I read where when the sun comes up over the east coast of North Carolina, it strikes everything that's green, every blade of grass, every shrub. And when it does, it lets off a chlorophyll that gives you and me the very breath we breathe every day. But I doubt anybody got up this morning while reading the paper, drinking their coffee, and said to their wife, "Oh, honey, do you hear the sun striking the chlorophyll outside?" No. God's power is quiet. And he can just do it in a quiet way. And so we see this. It's so important here. And then the Greeks and the Romans and the Jews. You see this scripture. It says, God shall help her just at the break of day. They used to divide the night into 4 different watches. They would be like 6 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock would be the first watch of the night. 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock is the second watch of the night. And then from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the morning was the third watch of the night. And then the fourth watch of the night was 3 o'clock in the morning until 6 in the morning. Here the psalmist says that God shall help her just at the break of dawn. Or your Bible might say, and that right early. I like this other translation a little bit better because sometimes God comes to you and me in the fourth watch of the night. Why does God do that? Well, if he showed up in the first watch of the night, we just say, well, oh, I got over that hump. If he showed up in the second watch of the night, we say, well, I'm pretty smart. I figured it out. See? If he showed up in the third watch of the night, we might say, well, I called some friends and they kind of helped me through it. But God waits to the fourth watch of the night so that he gets the credit for it. Amen. Because the unbeliever has to say, that had to be God. The captain demons of hell have to say, that had to be God. Whenever the doctor has given you up, when they said to call in the family, and when the bank account's down, the blood count's up. I mean, when there's nothing left to do, God shows up in the fourth watch of the night, and the angels in heaven have to fold their wings and say, that had to be God. That's why so many of you may read Watchman Nee. That's Chinese Christian brother Watchman Nee. He told a story in one of his books about some of him and his little buddies when you slip off to the water hole to swim. I did that when I was a boy. And 6 or 7 years old, Watchman Nee said he and some of his friends, same age, went down to swim in the pond or lake, wherever it was. He said one of them was a good swimmer, one was a pretty good swimmer, and the other one couldn't swim at all. He was sitting up on a rock on the bank, and they made fun of him because he wouldn't get in the water. And they finally talked him into getting into the water, and he got in there and got out over his head, and he couldn't swim. And he began to slap the water. He didn't know how to swim, and he began to scream. And the others said, hey, you're our best swimmer. Jump in there and get him and save him. Get him out of that water. He can't swim. And he just sat there. He kept frailing. He kept calling for somebody to help him. And he said, hey, you're the best swimmer. Go out there. It's too deep for us, but you need to get him. Watchman Nee said, for years that bothered him till he was one some years later at a conference where he saw that best swimmer. And he went up to him and said, hey, I've always wanted to ask you a question. Why, whenever our little friend was out of that water frailing, slapping his hands, and we asked you to go get him, why didn't you do it right away? You waited around, and you finally did. We're thankful for that, but why didn't you go the first time? He said, well, I'll tell you why I did. I waited until he was limp. When he was frailing, he could have slapped me and knocked me out, and we'd both drown. But I waited until he was limp. And when he couldn't save himself, I jumped in and I saved him. Oh, somebody here this morning needs to know. It may look like God's not going to help you, but let me tell you, hold on to just at the break of dawn. You wait till the fourth watch of the night, and when you can't do anything for yourself, God will come along and save you. Somebody shout amen. Let me hurry to an end here now. Not only God is our refuge, God is our resource. Third thing is God is our rest. Look what it says. He says here in this verse about this beautiful story. Let your hands hang down. Again, the Hebrew language is so beautiful when you read it in its entirety, but it talks here about letting your hands hang down. It's like the definition I read about it was like a man or a woman is in a church service and they've got their hands lifted like we were doing. It was so beautiful this morning, wasn't it? The worship. People had their hands up. And it said this right here, let your hands hang down, sort of means like when you've had your hands up, you've been praising and you've been doing it a good while, and you get tired and you sort of let your hands hang down. In other words, relax yourself. Rest in the Lord. He's got it under control. Oh, yeah. We say a lot about hands in everyday life. It was on the mantra this morning. I noticed it because I knew it was in my notes. And then, you see, we say, well, would you come over here and lend me a helping hand? Or when my second daughter had those 3 children like doorsteps, all of them young at the same time, all in diapers at the same time, they say to her, boy, you got your hands full. Or maybe we'd be like Pilate. He said he just washed his hands of the matter. We say a lot about hands. But God wants you and I to know. You know, there's a scripture in the Bible that God, where God says, or somebody says about God, he never slumbers and never sleeps. And one preacher said, he don't lay awake at night worrying too much because there's no need of him and God both staying awake. But we sometimes worry. You don't have to worry about God. He's got it all under control. And I thought this morning about this young lady gave her heart to the Lord. Now, there's some people I meet, they say, oh, preacher, I can't be saved. I say, why not? I've been such a mean sinner. I've been such a bad person. And the thought occurred to me, you cannot sin too much, but what grace of God cannot go further still. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter how bad you've been. The grace of God can go deeper than the sin you've committed. Amen. Somebody shout amen. That's a good praise. Oh, he shows up in the fourth watch of the night. And so God is our rest. Speak to us, Lord Jesus, today. Help us to relax. Now, I want you to see as part of this This is so different. I had to really study this because I couldn't understand it. For a long time it says, the God of Jacob is our refuge. Here God reemphasizes refuge again. The God of Jacob is our refuge, Selah. Now, if I was God, I wouldn't want to use Jacob here in my PR company. The word Jacob means old tricky one. So if you read it like that, it would say, the God of old tricky one, he's our refuge. You see that? And for years it kind of bothered me. You know what Jacob did? He tricked his own brother Esau out of the birthright. Went into his poor old blind daddy's dying bed. He couldn't see very well. He was well up in age. And he came in and said, Daddy, I've come for my birthright. In those days, the first son got the birthright, the farm, the house, the land, all of that. But old tricky one, he goes in. But you know what he did first? He went out. Esau was a hairy man, the Bible said, liked to hunt the big buck. But Jacob was a mama's boy. He hung around the kitchen with his mama. And they come up with this scheme. Hey, Jake, I know what you can do. Sometime when old Esau was out hunting the big buck, if you'll go out there in the barn and get some of those old deer hides, got hair all over, get you some of that super glue from Walmart, and put that hair on you, your poor blind daddy can't hardly see, and you go in there and tell him you're Esau. He goes in there. Daddy, I've come for my birthright. I'm ready for it. Well, who are you? Well, I'm Esau, your oldest son. Look what his daddy said. Well, now you feel like Esau. You got hair all over your chest and your body, but that voice is the voice of old tricky one. But he blessed him anyway. Gave him the birthright. And now it shows up in Psalms 46, the God of old tricky one, he's our refuge. But over the years, this has become an inspiration to me. Because if God can be the God of somebody like Jacob, he can be my God as well. Doesn't matter what I've done. No matter how it was what I've done to disappoint God or my family or my friend. No matter all about that, because if God can be the God of old tricky one, he can be my God as well.